Welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It's October 24th, 2019. It's Thursday. We got Thursday Night Football tonight. We've got a break from the World Series as they now head back to Washington, D.C. We've got NBA action on the calendar, regular season, making it count, going off for 50 type action going on in the NBA right now. It's back. I'm loving it. We've got the trade deadline looming in the NFL. Some trades have already happened. Some trades have shocked teams and pundits alike. Some trades might have gotten other star players to reconsider whether or not they're going to re-sign with their club when their contract is up. A lot of headlines out there, new managers in baseball, shotguns for home intrusions. Just a lot to get to today, a lot to talk about. We got results from week 5 to get to. Haven't talked about that yet. We got the picks for week 8. I'm going to try and get to why I love sports 12 and 13. If we've got time, I'd like to get both of those in. But I want to start with the World Series. It's going to go fast. It's going to go quick. Not going the way I saw it. Maybe going the way some of you saw it if you happen to be Nationals fans. I thought Houston would win this series in no more than 6 games. Now, that's still possible. They're going to have to win 4 in a row to do that. I don't see that happening at this point for Houston. I think this one could go 7. I think the Nationals could just take it to them. I mean, Verlander goes in game 2. You figure the Astros are going to get back on track, get that second game, even out the series at 1 apiece, heading into D.C. They don't. They give up 12-3. One crazy inning, sure, really set that game apart. But after the way the game went the previous night, 5-4, and the young stud Juan Soto getting that double that put him ahead 5-2 in the 6th or 7th inning, whatever it was. That was a very good game. I expected game 2 to be closer. We'll see. We'll have to see how game 3 goes tomorrow night in D.C. If the Astros can get one on the board on the road. Or are they going to fall down 3-0 and then try and reproduce what the Red Sox did back in 2004, which is highly unlikely. I've been very impressed with the Nationals. It's going to be awesome if the Expos win a World Series. This is a team that I personally, I admit it, I was wrong about. I counted them out early in the season. I thought they were dysfunctional last year. I didn't think they had gotten better by subtraction this year. They're not currently in this position just because Bryce Harper's not on the team, which has been floated out there. But they are in this position because they go out there every day and they play for each other. And they play with everything they have. And they're having fun. And they're bonded. Those are the best teams. When everybody's out there playing for each other. When you've got very little or no drama. No beef outside of, every now and then somebody's got a bad attitude. Might be grumpy. Might say the wrong shit. Those are the teams that are fun to be on. Those are the teams that are the most successful. Those are the teams that go out there and do special things. And right now, the Nationals are out there doing special things. And it might have been that they needed to grow into this team. That they needed the full 162-game schedule. They needed to be a wild card team to get to playing their best baseball. And being in tuned and playing for each other and enjoying it and laughing and having fun. It's been some really good baseball. It's been fun. Again, I picked the Astros. I thought they'd run away with this series, and that's just not happening. So game 3 tomorrow night, we'll see. We'll see if the Astros can get one or not. Now, where one season's ending, another one's beginning. We've got the NBA season on the books now. We saw them kick off on Tuesday night with the 2 games Tuesday night. Everybody wanted to see Zion. That didn't happen. Toronto does win that game in overtime, 130-122 over New Orleans. New Orleans played well. Pascal Siakam, for Toronto, he comes out, comes out 34 points. Brandon Ingram comes out looking good, 22 points for the Pelicans. Lakers and Clippers. This is just going to be drama. I can tell you already, I am going to get sick of this storyline throughout this entire season of Kawhi and LeBron and the Clippers and the Lakers. And who's better and who's the better athlete and who owns LA and who screwed who and why this, and I don't care. Let's just see some good basketball. Did the Lakers win? No, they didn't. They lose by 10 points. They didn't quite have enough. Clippers didn't have Paul George out there. Lakers did not have Kyle Kuzma. They didn't have Rondo. LeBron didn't go off for extravagant points. So now we've got a question again. Is LeBron done? 18 years in. Is he on the decline? What a polarizing figure. I cannot imagine living my life the way some of these guys have to live it because of how we treat them, the pedestals we put them on, and how we love to knock them down and see them fall because we're not them. Now, granted, I told you just a couple weeks ago, I've lost respect. Not all respect, but I've lost respect for LeBron because of his stance on Maury and his comments about China. I've lost respect for the NBA because of their stance. I'm not going to go as far as Mike Pence's comments saying that they're a wholly owned subsidiary of the communist regime, because that's not what it is. It's strictly business. It's strictly about that green. And for him to have any kind of opinion about what the NBA or anybody else is doing when his regime's doing what they're doing, he just needs to shut up. Your regime is also the one that said athletes should stay out of politics. Well, guess what, bro? You need to stay out of sports. Now, I'm getting off topic. We were talking about the young, fresh, new NBA season. Went on a tangent I did not intend to go on. Bunch of games kicked off last night. It was a great night of basketball last night. Nuggets win last night in Portland. Those are two great teams in the West. Phoenix beats up Sacramento. Utah takes out OKC. San Antonio over the Knicks. Dallas gets over on Washington. Kyrie goes for 50 in the loss against Minnesota. Almost had probably the best game-winning shot ever, as he falls down, flips, turns around, comes underneath the player, is able to come up off one foot and get a jumper and barely missed it. That would have been a highlight we would have never stopped seeing. But Kyrie looked good. He looked good. He looked happy again. He looked like what he did when he was playing at Duke. Honestly, I haven't seen him play like that in the NBA. You've seen him go off. You've seen him score. You've seen him dominate a game. You've seen him hit big shots. But there's something different in the highlights I was watching. There's a different look in his eye. And you hear reports today that he's happy. He's found his place. He's glad he settled in Brooklyn. Miami gets over on Memphis. The Celtics get over on Boston. Those are probably your top two teams right there. If not, maybe Brooklyn, if they can stay strong. Those are going to be your top three in the East. Indiana could surprise us, but they lose to Detroit without Blake Griffin. And Chicago loses to Charlotte by a point. You only got 3 games tonight. Golden State and the Clippers tonight on TNT, and the Rockets and the Bucks on TNT. That one will be fun to watch. And then the Pistons take on the Hawks tonight as the Hawks open up their season. Tomorrow night, obviously more games. It's an 82 game schedule. But I'm glad it's back. I got to go to a game soon. You know, I might actually try and go to the Nuggets home opener tomorrow night. Especially if I can get these tickets here as low as $18 that I'm seeing right now. They're playing the Suns, Western Conference opponent. It'll be a fun game. Definitely going to be a great atmosphere. A lot of expectations for the Nuggets this year. And the West is stacked. I'm unbelievably impressed with the Western Conference this year. I know it's been lopsided for a while as far as the East has been the weaker of the two conferences. But you look at the Clippers, the Spurs, the Nuggets, the Mavs are getting better. You throw in the Jazz, the Warriors, the Rockets, the Blazers, the Lakers. The Pelicans are going to be competing for one of those bottom spots. The Timberwolves are going to be competing for one of those last spots in. Oklahoma City probably doesn't have a great season. Memphis and Sacramento probably don't have great seasons. So 3 teams in the West really don't have a shot at the playoffs. Pretty much everybody else in the West has a chance. And then if you look at the top of that conference, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Rockets, the Blazers, the Jazz. Are you kidding me? These are all teams that are going to beat up on each other that are legitimate 50, maybe 60 win teams. Then you go to the Eastern Conference. Okay, Boston will be up there. Brooklyn will be up there. Indiana should be up there. Milwaukee's going to be a good team. Milwaukee could compete in the West probably. Toronto, they're definitely going to take a step back, whether they want to admit it or not. They'll have a good season. They'll probably be 6th, 7th, 8th seed. But they're stepping back. Philadelphia is going to be a good team. So you got maybe 2 or 3 on the Eastern Conference side, and you got 6 or 7 on the Western Conference side that are legitimate contenders. This is going to be one of the better seasons, I think, in recent times. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad basketball's back. I'm not looking forward again to the LeBron Kawhi stories all damn season long. It's interesting to hear that Golden State is now saying, or Steve Kerr's saying that, Klay might not be in it all this season. He could be the whole season. Trying to be realistic, long view here. Instead of setting up this idea that he's going to come back on this timetable, and that's actually pushing him too fast. Now, if he does come back, great. It's not like they're not going to play him. They're not putting him on that timetable and having that expectation to rush him back. Let's just let the process take place. So that's great. I love that. Basketball's back. It's going to be exciting. A lot of exciting stories out there that we could have talked about this week. We touched on World Series. We touched on the beginning of the NBA season and some of the stuff that's going on there. But then there's this whole section of headlines that I felt like I couldn't ignore. Like Zion's knees. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. We saw he ended up not playing the rest of the season at Duke and then coming back in the tournament because he hurt that same knee. Now, this is a 285-pound, 6'6", extremely explosive, country-strong young man. When I say country strong, I mean like Bo Jackson, natural strength, don't need to lift weights, solid muscle, compacted, super strength, just natural, country strong. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. And that kind of pounding and that kind of beating at that size takes its toll. Now, he's a young man. You think he's going to be all right. He's going to get some top-notch medical attention now that he's probably never had in his life before he was at Duke last year. So they're going to figure out everything that's going on. The hope is with this kid that all of this stuff that they're going to end up finding, that you're going to end up dealing with, meniscus issues that could turn into this, that, and the other issues, don't linger. Don't take away that explosiveness. Don't turn him into Glenn Big Baby Davis. Just a big guy who can't really jump no more and is taking up space out on the floor every now and then gets a shot. Because face it, Zion's game is not, the step-out jumper. It's not the mid-range game. It's in the paint. It's explosive. It's dunking. It's rebounding. It's putbacks. That other stuff he's still developing because he's been able to get by without it to this point, just being bigger, stronger than everybody else. Now he's around a bunch of grown men. He's got this injury. Is it going to be something that's going to prohibit him or keep him or stop him from being the player he is? Is he going to have to adjust his game? Is he going to have to completely turn to a mid-range game and develop a jump shot because the explosion goes away? I don't think so. We don't know that yet. I know at that size, it takes a lot out of you. It's more of a pounding than the 190-pound guy who goes up for the dunk and comes down, or the 220-pound guy who's his same height. 285-pound people with his explosiveness and his power, they come down hard. And I want to see him do great things. I love watching great athletes do great. I wish there were more of them on more teams. So hopefully in 6 to 8 weeks he comes back, everything's good, he's had the time to heal, the procedure's cleaned out, and we'll see how this young team looks. Now he's the 4th number 1 pick since 2007 to miss the season opener. Actually, the 4th in the last 25 years. They've all been since 2007. 3 of them have been because of knees. Zion, Blake Griffin, who's still having trouble with his knees. He's out now because of knee issues. And Greg Oden, whose knees issues did end up ultimately ending his NBA career. Different knee issues, I get it. Different players, I get it. But it's something to watch as this young man's career takes off. Other things that are out there. How about this Fletcher Cox story? Home invasion scares the guy off with a shotgun. What would we be talking about? What would that headline be today if he actually pulled the trigger? If he would have stood his ground, I don't know what the laws are in Pennsylvania, but it's in his house. Somebody's trying to get in. What if he pulls that trigger? What if Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, front page of the sports section, shoots home intruder? Where would the gun debate come into that one? I mean, I'm glad nobody got hurt. I'm glad he didn't feel like he needed to pull the trigger and he could just, with his size and the weapon in his hand, scare the guy away. I'm glad his family's safe. And maybe that guy who tried to break in, his life changes. But it's a crazy world out there. I personally, we don't have a gun in our house. But many, many times in the last handful of years, I've considered the idea of purchasing one. Because you just don't know anymore. You don't. And it doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. Other headlines that are out there. How about the changes of manager? We've got catchers, former players becoming managers of 2 historic franchises in Chicago and Philadelphia. The Cubs have brought on David Ross, who was the catcher during their World Series run, Dancing with the Stars, all that kind of stuff, giving him a shot after Joe Madden to take over this club. They know him. Most of the team played with him. They trust him. They're going to have that camaraderie there. So it could work out very well. I don't know how well David Ross knows the game. Catchers know the game in and out. They're generally the ones that recall, in my opinion anyway, that recall and know the game the best because they have to know what everybody's doing on every play pretty much. Or they can see what everybody's doing. And they're running and covering or backing up first base and backing up third base. And I read once that catchers they burn more calories in a single major league game than any other athlete in any other event or sport during their performance time, more than a marathon runner, which was extremely surprising to me. But you factor in, they're wearing the pads up and down with the squats. Every base hit, they've got to go to this side, that side, cover the plate, all the different things that go into it. So it makes sense. And then Joe Girardi with the Phillies. That's going to be an interesting mix. I've always read Joe Girardi as the no-nonsense type of guy. I've never thought that he wanted the type of player that Bryce Harper is portrayed to be. But maybe it works out great. They had some talent. Everybody expected more. They, spent a lot on pitching. They spent a lot on Harper. And it didn't work out for them last year. So they get rid of the manager. They bring in Girardi, who's had some success with the Yankees. We'll see. Who knows? Crazier things have happened. I like Joe Girardi. I always thought he should have been the manager and stayed, or, the Cubs, that was his place because that's where he, played for so long. I want to just send a respect shout to Shaq for basically saying that Rocket's GM Maury was right with his comments on China. And it came down to him. Look, different people have different understandings of things. There's different rules and different ways of living in different places. And if they don't understand it, that's not our problem. But what's going on there is wrong. It's not how people should be treated or governed. And I'm glad somebody with some name and some clout connected to the NBA clearly has some onions and came out and backed him. Now, the NBA tried to say, they wanted us to fire him and discipline him, and we told them we weren't going to do it. And now China's not showing the games on their public television. Oh, we're going to show you. Well, somebody's going to cave. And right now, yes, the NBA looks like they caved. It looks like they gave in because of the money. I'm glad Shaq didn't. Patriots making all kinds of moves, but their defense and special teams has been unfreaking believable this season. I so wish the Lions were balling out like Patriots East, since they're trying to become Patriots West or Patriots Michigan. But this defense, Field Yates put out this tweet. The Patriots defense / special teams now has 144 points this season. Their special teams unit and defense has scored 144 points this season. That would currently rank at other positions. They'd be the sixth highest scoring quarterback, the fourth highest scoring running back, the third highest scoring wide receiver, and the highest scoring tight end in the NFL. That's crazy. That's lunacy. Like, the rich get richer. The rich get richer. XFL schedule's out. If you're interested in that, go check that out. 100 Greatest Players of All Time list is finally completely out. And let's talk about the top 10 a little bit. Because there's a lot, face it, there's a lot of teams, or a lot of players, I mean. And we don't have time to get to all 100 right now. That could be a whole show, it could be a couple shows in itself. So, just the top 10 as I bring this up. Number 1, Jerry Rice. Very hard to argue with that. The numbers, even in today's pass-happy game, the numbers he put up then quite possibly never get touched. So, yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Number 2, Tom Brady. Again, you go to 9 Super Bowls, you have 6 titles, you're in your 20th season, or 19th season, whatever it is. You're statistically, because of your longevity, starting to take over or near the top of every category. You've set Super Bowl title marks for the position that, again, quite possibly are never touched. Hard to argue with that. Lawrence Taylor, number 3. Okay. I could see him being top 10, top 3. He was dominant. He was great. I don't know that I think he's better to me than Reggie White was. Than Bruce Smith was. Now, he was in New York. He was more polarizing. He got a lot of headlines. He had the crazy personality. We all saw him with the cocaine addiction. So he got the press. but I don't know if he's better than those guys. Jim Brown at 4, arguably the greatest running back of all time. Some say he is. Some say it's Barry Sanders. I could argue either one, but I don't think it's anybody else other than one of those two. So like that there. Walter Payton at 5. Walter Payton had a big heart. Walter Payton was a darling. People loved him. He played hard. He played physical. He was athletic. Again, played in a big market in Chicago. I think number 5 is too high for Walter Payton. I really do. Top 10 maybe, quite possibly, more than likely, but 5 I think is too high for Walter Payton on this NFL list of the top 100 players. Joe Montana at 6. Okay, I could probably argue top 10 players of all time. If this was a quarterback list, obviously he's in the top 10 all time. But I think 6 as far as all-time players is a little too high for Joe Montana. Reggie White at 7. Definitely to me, a top 10 player of all time. Peyton Manning at 8. I agree, Peyton Manning, because of his mental aspects that he brought to the game, is a top 10 player of all time. Johnny Unitas at 9. Look, I understand when he did it at his time, nobody else was doing what he did, but that doesn't translate to him being better than just about any modern era player. I think 9 for Johnny Unitas is way, way too high just because of how good he was during his time. Johnny Unitas and Joe Namath, one played longer. One came before the other one. One has more championships, or at least appearances. But number 9, Johnny Unitas, way too high. And then at 10, of course, Detroit's own Barry Sanders, which I think is too low for him. I think probably 7 or 8 all time is where he should have been. If he was driven by goals and stuff like that, he'd be the all-time leading rusher. But that's not who he was. So it's not what he did. I loved the soundbite this week of Sam Darnold saying he saw ghosts. I didn't have a problem with that at all. I thought it was great that he was acknowledging that. That's a learning moment. He's going to be able to watch the film differently now because he acknowledged that. He didn't get mad at anybody else. He owned it. And at his press conference today, the young man killed it again. Didn't run from it. He owned it. So everybody who wants to talk about ESPN did him dirty, no. They showed the fans and the people some true honesty on what happens in sports and how players feel and react. I loved it. Congratulations, Sam Darnold. You're going to grow. You're going to learn from this. And it's only going to get better from that aspect, that you're able to self-reflect like that and move on and still go out there and play and not stop your game, but continue trying. So I liked it. I don't like Rob Drake, Major League umpire for Major League Baseball, tweets out, which has been deleted, he's going to get an AR-15 if 45 is impeached and the Civil War is imminent. You know what, bro? You know what, Rob Drake? Come get some. Come see me. We'll see how far your Civil War goes, you racist piece of shit. You're going to start a civil war if the majority doesn't want the sitting president? Those are the rights of this country, you moron. I don't like calling people names. I don't like getting violent in my speech. But this kind of stuff, this kind of nonsense, this is not what anybody needs in any country. You don't act like that. You don't talk like that. So if you got some stuff you want to settle, don't go buy your little stupid rifle because you're weak and can't settle it yourself. You're not smart enough to use words. You're not smart enough to have a conversation. You're not bad enough to get in a fist fight. But you're a punk enough to go get a gun and say you're going to start a civil war or there's going to be one. Go back to the hole you came out of and disappear, Mr. Drake. Trade deadline, Tuesday, October 29th. So far, most of the trades have been receivers. and defensive backs. You got Marcus Peters, Jalen Ramsey, Quandre Diggs, which completely destroyed that locker room in Detroit because now 2 years in a row, they've traded a locker room guy, Golden Tate, Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs, team captain. They just re-upped him. He's young. He's thirsty. He's hungry. He plays physical. He plays fast. Fans loved him. They say they had depth at the position, and then today they signed another safety to the active roster. They weren't being honest about nothing with that trade. And they quite possibly alienated their best defensive player in Darius Slay right out of town with it. Because he is hurting from this trade, seeing his guy go. Business or not, they're like, there's no loyalty. If I get a better offer, peace be with you. Aaron Conley gets traded to Houston. Emmanuel Sanders, Mohamed Sanu. You got two undefeated teams that just got better with receiver trades they got. Mohamed Sanu going to New England. He's going to kill it, in my opinion, in New England. He's going to love playing with Tom Brady. And he's finally going to be the guy. He's going to shine. And don't forget, they're going to use his trick play ability and the arm he has to throw touchdown passes as well. And Emmanuel Sanders joining Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco gives them that number one receiver that's going to allow everybody else to be a little bit better. It's going to give somebody Jimmy Garoppolo feels like he can go to, that's going to help George Kittle. I mean, great move by both of those undefeated teams. Now, those teams are making moves. Some of them won in Week 7. Some of them did not win in Week 7. I didn't have the greatest picks in Week 7. I'll admit it. Panthers, Browns, Steelers, Buccaneers, they all had the week off. Kansas City embarrasses Denver. Denver is shown to be a complete joke. They're a joke. I live in Denver. I'm listening to these fans. They don't know how to deal with a team that's losing. Their GM and John Elway and their personnel department is no good. They have no depth. They don't have the right combination of players. They're now, everybody's talking about the quarterback is a mistake that they took in the draft because they're not going to play him. Well, maybe he is. But you get embarrassed. Patrick Mahomes goes out. Matt Moore comes in. Yeah, he's an NFL quarterback. He's played for Miami. But he's not very good. And you did not take advantage of that opportunity. Your offense was lackluster. It was boring. It was pathetic. Your defense can't stop anybody. And that was supposed to be the strong suit. You had a couple games, everybody, oh, look, they got a shutout. They're so good. The defense is back. No, the defense is not back. The defense is still trying to figure it out. The Dolphins test the Bills a little bit, but the Bills, they're still riding. They're keeping pace with New England as best they can. Jaguars over the Bengals. Detroit looked pathetic. They looked like they had not gotten past the Monday night game against Green Bay. You go into Green Bay against that team, against Aaron Rodgers, with a defense, with a running game, and you win all but 2 seconds of the game. Then you show up against Minnesota and just get turned. You get run up and down the field, play action up and down the field, can't stop nobody, injuries up and down the field. So on top of Diggs getting traded, you also put your starting running back on IR. So now he's gone. And Detroit looked like they mailed it in. The Packers beat up the Raiders. Rams over the Falcons. Falcons not looking good for Dan Quinn down there. The Colts surprised me, and they beat the Texans. I expected the Texans to win that one pretty easy. In the Rain Bowl, the 49ers get over on Washington. Not a surprise there. The surprise was the rain held them to 9 points. Giants lose in what ended up being an evenly matched game pretty much to Arizona 27-21. Titans get over on the Chargers. Chargers, they're falling apart. They don't know what they're doing. Saints win. They're fifth in a row since Drew Brees goes down, beating up the Bears. You got people now calling for Trubisky's head. Hey, he wasn't even near the best quarterback in his draft class, and they moved up to take him. It was a bad move then. They never should have made it then. They're stuck with it. They're going to ride it out and trying to figure it out with him. Seahawks get beat up by the Ravens. The Cowboys beat up the Eagles. and the Patriots, made the Jets see ghosts. Now, my picks for week 8, I'm trying to adjust them, see if I can get back on track to some winning ways. I still had to pick some upsets. I still had to pick some games that maybe other teams wouldn't have picked or other people. But I'll take Minnesota over Washington tonight. I don't see how Washington beats the Minnesota team I watched play Sunday. I'll take Seattle to bounce back against a really bad Falcons team. Philadelphia, I think, beats Buffalo this week. I think Buffalo has been tested, but I think this Philadelphia team can get to them. I'll take Chicago over the Chargers because I just don't know what's wrong with the Chargers. Chicago's defense had a players-only meeting, or the Chicago players had a players-only meeting, so I expect them to come out, at least on the defensive side of the ball, more focused this week. And against the Chargers, who are struggling mightily right now, I think the Bears get over on that one. I'll take the Lions over the Giants. I think Detroit bounces back. Hopefully they rally the troops because of the things that are going on, and the distractions from the trades and the injuries aren't too much for them. I'll take the Jets over Jacksonville this week. That's kind of my upset game. I'll take the Rams over Cincinnati, New Orleans to beat Arizona. I think the Titans beat Tampa Bay. I'll take Denver to upset the Colts this week. That's my big upset of the week. I'll take the 49ers over Carolina. I think the 49ers defense makes Kyle Allen and that offense stutter just enough that they can win that one. I'll take Houston over Oakland, New England to beat the Browns, although I'm kind of bouncing back and forth on that one. This could be the type of game, with the way this Browns team is playing, that they jump up and get, because they've been very up and down this season, and who knows, this could be one after a bye week that they jump up and get. But right now, I'm taking New England to win that one. I'll take Pittsburgh to beat Miami, and I think Green Bay beats Kansas City this week. So that's week 7. Those are my week 8 picks. It looks like we have time for both Why I Love Sports, number 12, and number 13. Now again, Why I Love Sports comes from a guy that I've worked with, a guy that I used to buy cards and sports memorabilia from, Mike Fruitman, who owns Mike's Stadium Sports Cards here in the Denver metro area. Great guy. Glad I know him. And he's been doing Why I Love Sports on his social media feed for a long time. And I thought, there's so many reasons why I love sports and stories that I'd like to talk about that way. I'm going to use that as well. So I'm 12 and 13 in. He's something like 3,000 in. I don't know if he actually keeps track of the numbers or if he's just putting a number on it each time. But for me, number 12 is going to be the story that came out about Skylar Diggins Smith in response to her critics. She played the entire season pregnant last year, was an all-star, led the league top 3 to 5 in minutes per game, and didn't tell anybody. So she's out there the whole time, top 3 to 5 in minutes per game, made it to the all-star team, and she's pregnant. And why is that a reason why I love sports? Because sports gives you that ability, gives you that belief that you can overcome and you can do anything. So where most people are sitting there wanting to criticize her game, want to criticize her play, want to criticize her choices, she has resolve you will never know. She has skills that you will never know because she played in athletics, because she has taken all of that and made it who she is. The strength, the resolve, the resiliency, the power to overcome and not give up and battle through and deal with pain and rise to the occasion. And I mean, there's so many things. I could just list words forever. Super impressive. I think it's awesome. Skylar Diggins Smith, Why I Love Sports, number 12. Why I Love Sports, number 13, has to be the Casey O'Brien story. Sports offer a lot of people in a lot of situations an outlet. It offered me an outlet for a long time. When I lost athletics, it took me about 10 years to discover who I was outside of that. So in this case, what this young man went through with his cancer surgeries, with everything, to get a chance to play on the college field with his college team, I can't imagine how it felt. Now, he got to hold for the Minnesota Gophers. He got to hold, I think it was 4 field goals. But words can't do these type of moments any justice. It was amazing. It was one of those things that was just humanity in athletics and sports at its best. Here's a guy, his job is to hold the ball on a kick. And when the kick goes through the uprights, his teammates, they don't run to the kicker. They don't run to the guy who scored the touchdown. They run to him and celebrate him and what he's been able to accomplish and the brotherhood and the feelings they have for him as a person and what he was able to overcome. So that kind of heartwarming story that comes out of sports. I was asked today, Kyle, what's your favorite movie of all time? Because I was talking about movies at work with my director and a couple other people that were around. And I said Rudy. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, that might be goofy, but you get a little taste of this same kind of thing, of that ability to overcome and the drive and the emotion and what it feels like to be in that situation, to be the underdog, to want it so desperate and to finally achieve it, even if for only a play or for a moment. And for Casey O'Brien, that was his moment. And that's why I love sports. That's what I have for you. You know how we do. Until next time, everybody, be real.